All right, line T2, we're going to be taking a look at learning tasks 1 and 2, just as one video over here. Emergency lighting testing and maintenance that we're going to cover. All right, so we've gone through what the emergency lighting and the unit equipment it all is, and when we were doing so, we went through all of that code inside of section 46. And one of the things that we saw inside of code was that there was this requirement that all of our documentation be framed, and that it then has to be placed in the installation that needs to specify testing at least once a month. Now, this is going to be the day-to-day testing that's going to go and happen, but then we're also going to go and have a larger testing that's going to go and take place. And that's generally going to be a yearly type of testing. It can, in some cases, be performed by the owner, other times by the electrician, other times by another outside body. The most cases, what we're going to see is it's going to be done by an outside body. The most common body that tests the emergency lighting and exit equipment is going to go and be the fire department. Fire department does what's called fire inspections. And fire inspections are them going up to commercial and industrial premises, places where we've got these life safety systems, as well as in a lot of cases our fire alarm systems, and they go through there once a year. They've got a whole checklist and they go through these things, inside of most of our municipalities at least once a year, and this is just when they have kind of downtime at the hall itself. What they're going to do is they're going to show up on site, it'll be pre-scheduled, and then they are going to go and turn on all the emergency lights. They toggle all the switches. They know how to do that. A lot of them are, working in the trades on their 4 off days anyways. So they're going to go and turn those lights on. They're going to walk around that whole installation. They're going to go and make sure that everything that is inside of there that's connected to the unit equipment is actually illuminated. They're going to check all of the exit signs as well, make sure that there's nothing that's going to be burnt out bulbs. I don't know if you remember when we talked about the exit signs, but that a lot of our exit signs, the older ones, are going to go and have a dual bulb that's going to be inside of it. One little bulb that's going to be over here, one little bulb that's going to be over here, oftentimes the AC, and then we're going to go and have another one, which is going to be the DC, the emergency power supply fed one. So what they're looking for is they're looking for one of these being out. If one of these is out, you'll see it always. That exit is just, lit kind of at one side over there. Then what they're going to do is they're going to kill the AC supply, and they're going to walk around and make sure that the DC lights are going to be on, or at least this is what they're supposed to be doing. They don't always get everything done all the way inside of it, but it's an outside the building, or outside jurisdiction that is there to go and inspect. And the big reason for this is obviously life safety. If there's a fire, that's probably going to go and result in a loss of power. That loss of power is going to result in people needing to go and find those exits. The code itself only specifies that we have to have that testing regimen posted, and that the regimen needs to be, specified that there should be monthly testing. There is another bulletin, the CSA Electrical Bulletin 1123, that talks about how they're to be tested on a monthly and yearly basis. Monthly, all you need to do is you go and operate that test switch. You're supposed to walk around, operate the test switch or the circuit breaker, and just verify that all those emergency lights came on. And you're supposed to visually inspect the electrolyte battery of the electrolyte level of the battery if it is of the unsealed type. Most of them are sealed, so we don't usually have to deal with that. Only in places where we've got one huge battery bank for the whole place would that actually be a thing to check. Yearly, what you're supposed to do is disconnect the AC power for the duration of the rated time base. So when the fire department comes through and does their inspections, in a lot of cases, they're going to go and kill building power for that minimum, depending upon the occupancy, anywhere from a half hour to 2 hours, that they're going to be allowed to kill either the entire base building or they're going to go and just kill those circuits. And they're going to make sure that those lights are still lit at the end of it. It's one thing for a light to come on, it's another thing whether or not the light's going to last more than 5 minutes, So that's why the yearly test needs to go and, verify that these things can operate for as long as they are rated. If it doesn't, battery's got to be replaced. Automatic testing. Automatic testing happens in larger buildings where we've got DDC systems that are going to be running everything. Those are very common that, these things are just going to run kind of on a cycle, usually at night, and it's going to go through, it's going to verify because it reads the current that's going out, etc., and it can tell you what state everything is in. Whatever you're doing, whether it's going to be, manual walk around, whether it's done by the fire department, by, you as an electrician coming in to verify, by the owner, it's supposed to be recorded. Any records of these inspections are there to, verify that it was done previous years. They always want to see the previous year's inspections records. because it's also going to note, if there was anything that needed to be fixed. And if it's not fixed yet this year, boy, they're not going to be happy. It's just going to be one of those things where they say, well, we've given you a whole year, you haven't fixed this yet. We're going to be really harsh on this inspection over here. The other records that we need to maintain is just going to be the records of all of the equipment we put in. Anytime we place new pieces of equipment in, we do need to go and make sure that we keep a copy of all those manuals, and then that we post those manuals as per law. Load testing. Load testing has to be maintained at that 91%. They don't usually actually check the voltage. That's usually something only an electrician would do. But that would be, once again, that long yearly test that they're supposed to, at the end of that, make sure that it's still going to be at 91%. Usually they just check and see whether or not it's still illuminated at that point. Moving over into Learning Task 2, describe the procedures to maintain exit and emergency lighting systems. Mostly these are straightforward. It covers a couple of things. Lamp replacements. Replace any lamps that are going to be inside of these fixtures. Those exit lights where we've got screw-in actual types of bulbs, you can replace a lot of those older incandescents with LED bulbs. You just need to make sure that, once again, the manufacturer, just look up who the manufacturer is, whether or not they approve those lamps for use in their fixtures. If it is a built-in LED panel, like inside the bottom of a lot of our exit lights, then you're not going to be able to go and replace it. That would have to be a complete fixture replacement itself. Efficacy is just going to be the ratio of changing watts into lumens. This does fade on a lot of our lamps, LEDs included, right? We've got that LM70 testing that we talked about in lighting that needs to maintain these levels for at least, our LM70 states how long it takes before something drops below a 70% illumination level. So incandescent or LED, a lot of these checks are supposed to be also done with a light meter, and then once again replacement if needed. Sometimes you can get away with cleaning. They talk about that. If it's a dirty lens, it's going to go and shut down the amount of light. If you've got hazy headlights on your vehicle, or you've had dirt on your vehicle, you drive the Coca in like the winter or something, cleaning your headlights makes a huge difference. Just getting that little bit of dust off it. Same with these ones here. Keep them clean. And then battery replacements. This is going to be usually off of a chart. Whether the battery looks like it needs it or not, we just replace those cells based upon when it was, installed. Usually they're going to go and have a rated lifespan. They're going to have a little tag that states the battery should be replaced here or when, etc. Use compatible ones. Once again, make sure that the type of battery you place in there is the correct type to go with the charging system that is going to be inside of there. And any of those batteries themselves, once you remove them, take care with those things. You throw them into a van and a metal box comes up against them. Those things could still be holding charge, and it's going to short those two terminals out. Anytime that you're taking batteries out for disposal, tape over one or both of the actual terminals. As soon as you do that, you can't short from one battery terminal to the other, and you don't get that massive discharge. What we would call a dead battery still has enough energy inside of it in a lot of cases that it can go and boil and rupture and potentially cause fire. So be careful. If it is a cracked casing where it's leaking, obviously, don't pick it up by hand. Make sure you're wearing some gloves, not cloth gloves or leather or anything, but like nitrile gloves or something that's going to protect your hands, and place inside of another plastic container, never metal because sometimes the acids can eat through them. Place inside of another plastic container until you can get this thing properly disposed of. All right, that is the end of our learning tests 1 and 2 out of line T2.